Hello everybody, welcome to the first in a long series of interviews. I'm delighted to introduce Christian Downer, social media legend from Peterborough. Thanks for coming in, Christian.
No, my pleasure, Gary. I'm going to have to try and live up to that introduction.
Yeah.
Do my best.
So all I want to do is, like I said to you before, is to have a chat and really just to have a think about social media, how it's changing particularly, and then this thing that I see in my coaching clients of this constant fear of social media and the algorithms and the techniques and the systems and stuff like that. But let's go big to start with. Meta, what's this all about? What does Meta mean?
It's, to be honest, I think it's just noise from Facebook at this point. It's part of their overall strategic thing of doing more in the kind of the augmented reality and kind of the bigger projects they're doing.
Yeah.
But the day-to-day bit that we'll see will be Facebook for quite some time. So it's a good branding exercise, gets lots of column inches, but for in the same way that when Google launched Alphabet, kind of we heard lots of talk about that, and now it just kind of bubbles along in the background. It's very much that. I think it's more an attempt by the company to show that they're more than just Facebook and have that vehicle, because they own Instagram, they own Messenger and all these WhatsApp and all these different pieces, and they've got other probably more companies than you can count in the kind of aligned on the back. So rather than them all being under Facebook's brand, they want an individual one, and they've chosen a name that they feel represents that. And it's not something I necessarily know the Meta bit isn't necessarily something I know a great deal about, but it's I think we'll hear it in dribs and drabs in the coming time, but I wouldn't be rushing to worry about it.
There's something about this concept of the metaverse and the idea that we're going to be wandering around virtually buying stuff and things like that. I mean, can you see any kind of impact there?
Yeah, I mean, if we look at what the kind of I would see the mission of Facebook being is that you live as much of your life as possible, if you like, through Facebook's products and tools, and so the making. So rather than having a shop front or even a website, that you can kind of experience a company or a business, whether that be virtual reality or in a all-encompassing space. So that's we see that with Facebook already, kind of Facebook and Instagram shops. We see that with kind of them making those barriers to using them as kind of everything you can log into. How many things can you log into just with your Facebook login? So it's
I've got my Oculus Quest VR headset. That's all Facebook.
Exactly, and even things that aren't within their that aren't even in a augmented reality, they are or virtual reality, they are trying to make it that hub. I mean, I think there's bigger challenges for Facebook than this. I think that in the whole social media, they're going to see a regulatory challenge in the next 5-10 years. They've been given a shot at self-regulation, and this isn't just Facebook. This is all the big tech companies, and I think it'd be easy to argue that the results have been mixed.
I mean, I wrote a few things down. You've got the global corporation tax thing that seems to have been pushed through now. So there's no hiding your revenues and taxation in places that are favourable to it. You've got our own online harm bill, which is clearly, we've got a new culture secretary, and she's pretty keen on, let's show the big tech how much teeth we've got in that kind of space. And then you've got these whistleblowers who keep popping out. I mean, how long can Facebook survive that exposure of data?
Well, as long as the users keep coming back. I mean, there's lots of talk about it, but how many people do you know have lessened their use of Facebook on the back of that? How many do you know have lessened their use of Facebook based on their tax? How many people use Amazon despite knowing the tactics that they use? Everyone, because they're the biggest company in the world. I think that these can often be distractions. I think that on the tax side of things, I've never understood why they do that. These are huge companies. I know they're shareholders, but I don't see this having a huge impact on them. It may impact small businesses because the cost goes up, or there's a different piece. But I don't think it will fundamentally change the business model. So therefore, I don't think it's something that they'll be particularly worried about, particularly at 15%. I don't think taking 15% of the annual revenue of Facebook is going to significantly impact them or reach that they have. When it comes to the online harm, I definitely think this is something that is going to be a challenge for them, particularly, Instagram as well as Facebook. At the moment, they've been allowed to be fairly hands off. If you look at the way the support systems work,
Yeah.
it's it's automated as much as you can, and that's really, people always criticize this, but with 3 billion active users across the world, it's going to be very difficult. To have you couldn't have someone just sat there monitoring content manually. You'd have to have a small country or a large country.
So are they
under the employ?
Yeah, I agree. But are we categorizing Facebook then as a communications platform? Like a telephone. Nobody monitors the enormous amount of hate that goes on the telephone. So are they a communications platform like that, or are they a content provider like a TV station or a newspaper, where that legislation is designed to stop them from being harmful to their audience?
Well, that I think is going to be the essence of the debate in the next 5-10 years, because particularly, say, in America, where most of their policy are founded, they're protected by a law that wasn't intended to cover them, that I think was from the 70s or 80s, basically.
Yeah.
Allowed them. In fact, it was the 90s. I think it was like there was right at the beginning of the internet. I'm going to start again because So so when it comes to the hate and so on, there was a bill in the 90s that basically, at the start of the internet, that allowed them not to be treated as a publisher and therefore viewed in that way. So there is a movement that's starting off getting traction in the conservative wing of the American politics, but is now being seen both ways, that maybe this protection either needs to be abolished or at least overhauled. And I think that it's difficult because we want to allow people to to have this platform where you can the possibility to share ideas, build community, and do things.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I've got friends that I only know from Facebook groups or from Twitter or from these places, but and it's been great for me, obviously, in building my business. And I started off writing a football blog, giving opinions that maybe nobody wanted to hear, so would disagree with. So it's a really difficult needle to thread. I think there should be more a bigger responsibility on them to find the people that are doing that. But then you get into much deeper problems about free speech.
Yeah.
Just because somebody's speech upsets you, does that mean that they should be unable to say it? And that is I don't think we're going to be able to solve that one here today, but it comes down to, if someone has an opinion that you don't like, that's different from one that's full of hate or full of bully. And I think at the moment those can be a bit blurred, and I don't want to get too much into the politics because I might get cancelled, but it's kind of, it is that cancel culture. We see this a lot now with there was, is it Ollie Robinson and the tweets he made 12, 15 years ago, and I'm not defending those in any way, but it's kind of, we're seeing now the impacts of society. Social media's now been around as long as a lot of people have been adults. So I'm 35, and when I was growing up, I was at university when Facebook started. And it's kind of, so it's been with me my whole adult life. So there's a lot of things. The memories feature of Facebook is both horrifying, is wonderful and horrifying at the same time. So because it shows you the pictures when you were, some of the posts. I use it as a way to delete stuff that I'm like, did I really say that? And it's not. Do I really put that into the public sphere? And you had elections, and you had you see people I was joking with my friend, it's like, oh, you were up on my memories today, it was your wedding to your last, to the first wife, and so we're now getting this world where everybody's grown up in and then they're captured digitally, and I still don't think we've fully prepared ourselves as a society for what that means and how that should work.
All right, so a lot of my clients say to me that sometimes they feel like it's a bit of a duty to be on social media, that even though sometimes they don't want to, they have to keep being there, keep being present and posting.
Yeah, I think that's a big challenge, and can be a big sort of mental block for people. And this might sound controversial coming from a social media trainer, social media coach, but if it wasn't my job and it wasn't what I did, I think that the amount of time I spent on these platforms would be significantly diminished, and it would be, the way I used them and what I got out of them would be very different. I think we talked about Facebook, it would be about checking in from time to time to get milestones and just check in.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, it would be around just professional development and maybe more likely to be used when I was looking for a different opportunity. So yeah, I think that you have to be in control of the relationship you have with social media. It can't be driving you. There has to be I think you need to sit down and have, like you would a strategy for the business or the marketing, is like, well, when am I going to be using social media? Am I going to check it? The average person checks their Facebook 80 times a day.
Wow.
So you think about it, I don't know if you've ever been in a supermarket, you're in queue for the supermarket, and you'll see someone pull out their phone. They're queuing, they've got one more person in front of them to go, and they'll just pull out their phone and they'll check I think so those 80 micro bits. So I think having that thing, well, actually, no, I'll check my Facebook I probably would be more, I might check it at the end of the day, for example, or do that kind of thing. Whereas, and I think that's healthy anyway, even as a social media professional, to be, well, this is when I'm going to be engaged, this is when I'm going to be active. And as I said, you control the social media and not be driven by the notifications and the dings and that,
So you've got this sense that those notifications, those dings are designed to be addictive in a way. And then you have to make your mind up about your use of social media. Is it fun and entertaining, which is what it was intended to be? Or is it actually a chore that has to be managed in some way?
Yeah, and I think that's true for personal and business use, to be honest, because there definitely is. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a psychologist, but there is definitely a scientific relationship to do with dopamine about the way the body reacts to those notifications and so on, and that driving the behavior and keep you, that's the same reason why a lot of, companies gamify what they do now is to make it more fun and make, keep you engaged. And I think you're right. You want to be making sure that, you're getting out of it what you want. And, one of the big changes I made in my personal stuff was I used to, I'm a very opinionated person, as you well know, is I don't share those opinions on Facebook or Twitter or those things because, one, you're normally speaking to either an echo chamber or you're trying to wind someone up. And neither of those things are positive things to be putting on. And everything you say is there for eternity, and the opinions you have today aren't the ones you might have tomorrow. So, I think I've certainly changed my relationship with social media to be more mindful of what I want to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't need to check my LinkedIn at 10 o'clock at night.
No.
Because, and I have this thing, it's the same with anything. What will you see, or what will happen when you check your Facebook, your LinkedIn, or your Twitter at 10 o'clock at night that will change your life, or you couldn't do in the morning? As a quick aside to that, having run a lot of adverts for a lot of people, if you want to run an advert to people for like, a service that you provide to the public, so you're a gardener or you're you do martial arts or something like that, the most popular time for people to respond to that advert would tend to be 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Because talk about target audiences, sat in bed, looking at their phone, and scrolling through it, and they go, bang. And of course, then you've got to make the decision. Am I going to respond to that message? Because I'm on my phone sat in bed. Am I going to respond to that message at 11 o'clock at night and show that I have nothing?
I'm sensing that LinkedIn, to get the best features from LinkedIn, we're going to have to start paying a bit more. And I'm also, I read something yesterday where they were saying that actually if you want to connect to somebody, depending on how senior that person is, it's going to cost you more to get into their inbox than it would have done previously. So, I think there's a sense that LinkedIn recognizes its own value in the business-to-business space, but we are going to have to start paying more for it.
Yeah, so when it comes to LinkedIn, it's been quite a metamorphosis. So unlike other platforms where they've kind of been created, and they're still in many ways kind of very much doing what they set out to do, Facebook connecting people, friends, and so on, Twitter sharing news and updates and so on. LinkedIn didn't start as what it is now. LinkedIn started as a recruitment tool. It started as a way of connecting people. It was meant to be the online CV, if you like. Hence why a lot of the terminology is still very much in that kind of way. And it's a great tool for recruiters. But it's evolved into a social media platform. And it certainly has taken them time to fully really understand where they see their place. where they want to be, and I still don't think they're there. I think there's still lots of different features that I'd like to see kind of improve, groups and events and so on. I know they're making changes to events as we speak, but yeah, I think that because I didn't necessarily know exactly what their roadmap was, it's been quite slow, and we've had almost a lot longer period than we do with other social media channels where organic is abundant and free, and because you think Facebook, Instagram, they cut their organic reach really quickly because free, if you get what you want out of the platform for free, then why would you advertise or pay for them? And I think that certainly you could make the same argument for LinkedIn. I mean, I am a Sales Navigator user, but mainly because it gives me visibility, and I think that's what we'll see. I don't think we're going to see an outright pay to be a member platform, but I think that some of the cool features and tools may become subscription based. But then saying that again, LinkedIn is already an incredibly profitable platform. I think that we might see better advertising, we might see more structure to the charges and the costs. But I wouldn't expect revolution in the next couple of years. I think that we'll see something, but I don't see we'll see anything too drastic. I might be step change.
Do you think there'll be? And one of the things that happens to me when I speak to my clients about social media is that they say there's so much differing advice, and there's so much of a sense of what's right today will be wrong tomorrow. And then there's this kind of impermeable layer where we know that behind Facebook and behind LinkedIn there are algorithms that are busy deciding what and who sees our content and stuff like that. Do you see any changes there? Because we can't control any of that. We are at their mercy in that sense.
Yeah, and I think that this is, this, if I'm every day almost, I'll get someone say, I've tried this or I've tried that, or I've used this company that's promised me this or that, and it's not quite happened. Yeah. And very much the reason that I changed my business from being a management company to a training company is to try and add some clarity to this. But I think it's noise. What works on social media is the same now as it has always been, is you've got to be saying something that has value and that resonates with the person. It doesn't matter what platform you're on, if you post something that adds value, entertains, or is, speaks to that person, then you'll get engagement. And because the algorithms are just mechanisms to pick that up. They're designed to enhance that and to achieve what the platform wants, which is to get the best content in front of people at the right time, and just in general, that will be it. I mean, if we look at Facebook, that's exactly how the advertising platforms work. We think about LinkedIn. The way I explain this is when it comes to social media, there are normally three parties involved. There is you as the small business, and so you've got your objectives. You want to get your message out to people as quickly and efficiently and, dare I say, cheaply as possible to get the best return on investment. So we'll pay as long as you can see that there's an increased return. Then you have the user. Now the user is the product in most social media platforms. They are the people that the advertisers want to reach, so therefore they're the people that they'll pay to get in front of. And then to the company that runs it, they are the people they have to keep happy, because if they leave, there's no product. So that user, typically what they want is they want to see the most relevant content to them. They want to see stuff that makes them feel, validates them or gives them what they want from the platform. And they don't really want to see adverts. They don't want to feel sold to, and they don't want to feel like they're being pressured or kind of surrounded by corporate
so kind
content.
Of educate, inform, entertain.
Exactly.
There's room for that.
Yeah, exactly. So then the final piece of that of the three stakeholders in any social media platform is obviously the owners of the social media platform. So with LinkedIn, that's Microsoft. With Facebook, it's obviously Facebook. But then they also have Instagram and WhatsApp, which in the UK may not be seen as a social media platform, but I know lots of communities across the world where they would just have one big WhatsApp group of like that, and they use that very much as a social community. And you see that with, you know, clubs or groups or whatever you might be in. Then you've got Twitter, obviously it's just owned by Twitter, but then you've got YouTube, which I consider to be a social media platform, which is owned by Google.
Yes.
So all of these owners, what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep as many users as they can, because they're measured on that, that are as active as they can be, because every minute they're on the site, they're more likely to click on an ad.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that they want to keep them happy because they want to see too many ads. So they've got to kind of keep this balance between the business owners and the users that keeps a balance between maximizing revenue and not killing the golden goose. That's and I think that's the challenge we're seeing, and I think that's what we're going to see in the next, you know, the challenge LinkedIn are going to have is profit maximization, but keeping the main core purpose alive.
And can you see any sense that there might be a point in the future where there'd be some decentralization? You know, we've seen it. You're an investor. You've seen it in the sort of crypto world, where we're saying that the traditional models don't work. Could that happen in social media? You know, do we see anybody coming up in the race that could be more transparent about their algorithms, could be more decentralized in the way that they run their platform?
It's absolutely possible. Obviously, there are huge barriers to that. You know, we've seen a few pretenders in the last couple of, you know, in the last year or so.
TikTok, who would have thought?
TikTok, you know, have really come in and really, you know, we talk about barriers. They've really made Instagram change the way they act. You know, you've seen Reels are on Instagram, they're coming to Facebook. And we saw when Snapchat came along, Facebook changed that you could have all the silly filters and do all that kind of stuff. And stories became a thing. So we see how the big platforms learn from, and this is again a big barrier to entry, is so they either buy or they replicate. That's, you know, Facebook tried to buy both Snapchat and I don't think they've tried to buy TikTok, but, you know, I think if they thought that was a realistic prospect, they would have done. And yeah, realistically, it can happen. And I think we do see it in other countries. They'll have, you know, China, for example, uses a different platform, much linked to the politics and the control there. But, you know, you'll see that different countries use these platforms different way. And it'd be easier, I think, if you can find a group of people that have a shared purpose, absolutely space to do that. It's just I think you've got to be well capitalized and have a really clear, really solid tech team, and that's a big ask. But of course, we saw Clubhouse, come into the market, and very clever marketing in the beginning, but they just weren't able to kick on. And I don't hear anyone talking about Clubhouse anymore. I believe it still exists; it's still there, and there are people having conversations. But they kind of they pushed, from my opinion, they pushed the exclusivity thing just a bit too far, to the point where people stopped caring. It's like,
we're going to take a break.
We're just going to take a short break.
We're going to take a short break.
Okay.
Why?
So now we're just going to take a short break.
So it's no longer I don't think it's the Wild West out there anymore, but there's obviously a lot of danger out there for small businesses. What kind of dangers do you think people are facing when they're using social media from a business perspective?
So from a business perspective, the simplest danger is simply not protecting what they have. So giving access to agencies or employees to things and not having clear access control. And then that person leaves, or there's a dispute with the agency, and suddenly they don't have control of their assets. So I think they need to see them, as businesses need to see their social media channels, as brand assets, and treat them like they would the office, you know, that they work in, or the house that they work in now. And I think that's really important. The other one is to lose sight of the overall objectives of the business. I mean, you're obviously a business coach, so you have these conversations a lot, but I think people see social media a lot as a separate entity, something almost separate from their marketing strategy or their overall strategy. Is it needs to be set to fit in with the overall business, and, you know, and kind of work together and mesh together in a positive way. So, for example, if you're doing leaflets and leaflets at work, don't stop doing leaflets. Run an advert alongside it. You know, if it's, you know, I've had conversations with a couple of companies where I say, look, social media is going to be great for your branding. So when people look you up, they can see what you're doing. But your business is to pick up the phone and start dialing.
Yeah.
You need to be speaking to this person at this company. You need to be getting in a room with them. They're unlikely to be on LinkedIn, or they're not an active user on that platform. It's not going to be where they can expect to approach them. So you need to be doing the old school routes, the trade show, the phone calls, the door knocking, the charity ball, that kind of thinking. Well, if I want to work with that person, how do I get in a room with that person? Rather than thinking, oh, well, I can just run them. And if I run them enough adverts, or I post enough motivational quotes, that somehow they will come to me. So
do you get the sense that, I mean, I see it sometimes where people feel a sense of duty towards social media. So it's like, well, everybody else has got it, therefore we must have it. And therefore, yes, it's brand awareness. Yes, it's social proof if somebody looks you up and they can see what you're up to and look at the latest piece of work you've done and all of that sort of stuff. But sometimes that duty becomes an obsession. I must keep up all these different channels, maybe more channels than they need, or the wrong channels for them, but they just can't let it go. Do you see that?
I do see that, and I think it's interesting. Now, the person that runs Weatherspoons is an interesting character at the best of times, going to divide opinions, I'm sure. But interesting, they made the decision to shut their social media channels because it wasn't adding anything to their business.
Yeah.
People knew the brand, they had a strong brand. People, they had the customer service piece in place elsewhere that people could use. It was just being used to create negative, or it wasn't being used in a way that would enhance their business. So they made that choice not to be there. And I think that it's important for small businesses to protect, again, brand assets. If have a TikTok page for your business if you want, and you can just have a video that just goes, we don't really use TikTok, but if you want to come find us, we're here, and here. So you can have an Instagram account with the same kind of thing. So if people do look you up on those channels, because that's where they are, at least they can see that you're there, and you can explain the fact that you're not active by saying this is a place
whilst doing a funny dance to music or whatever.
Exactly, So, but that would be it. Is don't think you need to be active on these channels, all of these channels. I'd say do one or two really well, if that's where your customers are. I mean, it must be odd for a social media coach to actually, or trainer to be saying you don't necessarily need to be on social media, but it has to fit with your business. And if it doesn't, then don't. It's kind of that's the mistake I see businesses making a lot, is because they have these channels, their customers think they communicate with them on those. Because they're not monitoring them, there's sales or there's customer problems that are just slipping through. So we have a client where they do use their social media a lot, but they're a martial arts gym, they're teaching a lot of the time. So if you message them going, oh, I've got a question, we can't find the place, or we can't, Timmy's not going to be here today, they're not going to get that till much later, and that's so it's making sure that's communicated, that if it's this is where we want to be communicated to. Have you had this where you have clients where they want to communicate with you on maybe lots of different channels?
All the different channels, yeah.
So it's not possible for you to monitor all those effectively, right?
No, I wouldn't want to.
So you would set a core expectation of your clients of you can email me, but if you really want to get hold of me, it's a phone call, or it's a
phone call.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a phone call or a text.
So I drive my wife crazy. Well, in many ways, but one of the ways is for my own mental health, I turn off the notifications on my WhatsApp and my Facebook Messenger, because it pings all day. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's never. And same with my emails. Doesn't come up. So she'll go, I sent you a WhatsApp. Did you? No, I don't check my WhatsApp. It's kind of.
What about the dangers then from a competitive perspective? Because you're out there putting all your stuff out on social media, you're sharing all that stuff, everybody else can see it. Are there any dangers to businesses by oversharing or over communicating?
So your competitors are always going to see what you're doing. The competitors are always going to be, the good competitors are going to be out there. Social media is great for small business because it makes that process easier. One of the great things that Cambridge Analytica did for Facebook was the page transparency feature on a website. Tells you where everyone's based, also tells you what ads they're running. So whenever I pick up a client, we're going to run ads for them. First thing we do is go, who's your biggest competitor? Who's your national competitor? Great, let's have a look at what ads they're running. Yeah. We can go there. So you do have to, I think it's not necessarily a risk factor, but you do have to go in knowing that that's the case. That's
the landscape. Yeah.
If you're going to post something on social media, it's not private. It's out there. even if it's in a private message, there's a chat, photoshopped or screenshotted or shared. It's digital communication.
Yeah.
It's gonna if it's
Nothing
if you're not
is
willing
safe.
to say it to someone's face, don't say it in an email. It's the same with social media. And I will give you a scare story just to put this in. So it's a great success for my client. They put up a post on LinkedIn, and one of their competitors chose to put a passive aggressive comment on. Not the strategy I would recommend. But what happened was they were connected to their client, a client who happened to not be overly satisfied with the service they were providing.
Yeah.
It just because the way LinkedIn works, likes and comments on posts potentially put them in the home feed of the connections of the person that liked or commented.
Yes.
It meant that they got to see the company that we were working with, or our company.
Yeah.
And they messaged our client going, well, we were using this company, just seeing your post. We're not having a great time with them. Can we have a chat? And
Wow.
I won't go into the exact things, but we're talking north of 6 figures worth of revenue that's come from that passive aggressive comment. So not just when you're posting, but when you're commenting, just be aware of who you're speaking to. Yeah.
So let's have a think about trends then, because of course, these platforms, they change all the time. We see new features all the time. We had LinkedIn Live, didn't we, earlier this year, and things like that. When we look forward into next year, what can you see coming for the major platforms that will affect the way business users use them?
So I think we're going to see a continued dominance of video. So Instagram obviously introduced Reels in response to the way TikTok works.
Yeah.
Been told that Facebook will be bringing in Reels at some point in the future. But I think, again, this is the danger. You should get too caught up in trends. Use these platforms in the way that your users are consuming the content. But do be mindful that when they do bring in new functionality, they will normally, that is the time to jump on it, because the social media algorithms will tend to give that more prominence because they want to promote that feature. So we saw that with LinkedIn Video. We saw that with LinkedIn Lives to a certain extent. We're now seeing it with Instagram Reels. And I'm sure we're going to see it on other things. When they have a piece of functionality that's new and they want people to use, they'll give them they'll make sure that gets engagement to kind of give that a push. So it's really hard to say, well, where is it going or what the trends.
What would you like to see? I mean, let's say we don't have insight into what those strategic planners are doing in Facebook.
I'd love to see LinkedIn nail LinkedIn groups.
They're pretty dead, aren't they? Really.
There's a disconnect in the experience that means that people just don't engage with them. There's some new stuff. LinkedIn newsletters are now becoming more mainstream. I'll be interested to see how that develops and how that works for our business.
Yeah.
I'd like to just see the ability to I'd like to see the end of the engagement for engagement's sake we're seeing on LinkedIn at the moment. I'd like to see, if we're going to be really fussy and picky and say, if I could change social media, if you're looking at LinkedIn, I'd love to see the value of content being encouraged more on the algorithm than,
comments and likes and shares.
Well, that's you have to have a measure, but the problem is at the moment, human nature is that we're more likely to engage with something that has a picture of a person or an animal in it.
Yes.
And therefore that is why you're seeing more stuff about, when people complain about LinkedIn becoming Facebook, it's that kind of content. And the reason that's happening is because that's how we're conditioned. It's human nature. It works. And people, I put up a post of my dog and I got 150 likes. Oh, well, I'll put up another picture of I've got another dog, or I've got a cat. Great.
Yeah. Or a baby.
Yeah, exactly. So, and as someone who's used these and seen these, and there's nothing wrong with sharing your life on social, but I'd like to see the platforms tweak the algorithms in a way that the best content wins, discourage things like LinkedIn pods.
Yes.
Discourage the automation tools, which I know LinkedIn are really pushing at the moment. And just that never-ending battle that these platforms have with people trying to game the system and get output for less effort.
And does just thinking about the trends, there was a big interruption this year, wasn't there, with the way Apple handled or interrupted Facebook's activity when it came to advertising and finding
Yes,
customers. Are we seeing changes there that will go through into next year?
Yeah, I think that's going to be ongoing trend and ongoing challenge is the way that, you know, the tracking and you know, the way these big tech companies tend to integrate between themselves and support or harm each other as much as they can. So Apple have launched iOS 14.5, very much trying to play the privacy card and support, and now that's a whole different conversation as to how genuine Apple is with that commitment. However, what they did say was, you know, iOS 14.5, and I you know, we're going to give you the choice as to whether these companies track you across the internet.
Yeah.
You know, and basically what that meant was that there's a button saying, would you like, when you go onto Facebook, would you like Facebook to be able to track you across the internet? And there's a button, yes or no. And I'm sure a significant portion, I don't have the exact stat, but I'm sure it's a significant amount of people went, well, no, actually, I'm fine. And that's made it harder to track things like conversions. So, and people going to websites tracking conversions. So it's made people like me job harder, because one of the biggest challenges in marketing is always attribution. You know, who was the guy who once said, you know, I know that 50% of my marketing works. I just can't tell you which 50%. And it's, so by those changes make it harder to show that tangible, that I can see £1,000 worth of sales directly from this channel. And I think that's going to be a developing trend. I think again it just makes it clear to you're going to have better ad copy, have better better content, and it's something that always, you know, the great thing for me is it's a nightmare that the platforms always change and you always have to be learning, but it's also the thing that keeps my business going, because it's always changing. Yeah, it's always developing.
Okay. All right, so we've covered a lot, Christian, but I guess let's finish on, for small businesses, what you've seen in your business as the most effective strategies for small businesses across social media.
Yes, so for me, the most effective strategies are normally the simplest. You know, there's depending on your type of business, you know, there you can have fairly simple, you know, strategies all the way up to kind of the going to be, you know, the influencer with the biggest, you know, with the big followings and you know, huge ad spends and quite complex ad structures. But for most of the businesses we deal with, as long as they can keep a handle on their target audience and what they're trying to achieve, and they can have a very clear call to action of what they want those people to do, then that's the strategy really, is defining target audience and what you want them to do. They're the two things that most people, you know, often either struggle with or just need a quick handle on. It's where it fits in the sales funnel. So as a business coach, it would be very rare that someone's going to see your ad on Facebook and go, you know what, Gary, I like the cut of your jib. Here's a blank check. Let's go.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and anyone who could write you that advert, you should hire them and pay them whatever money they ask for. Right. Because it just doesn't exist. Whereas, you know, in your sales funnel, it might be, well, I just want to have a conversation. I just want them to be getting on my email list so I can send them information about what we do and build them there and understand that. And just understanding what social media does for your business and where it fits. Is it just a branding tool? Is it just visibility? Is it, you know, is it about generating leads and meetings, or is it, you know, e-commerce and you need to sell you know, you make your own jewelry and you've got to sell that jewelry, so you've got to be clear on the staying doing that. I mean, the one key, you mentioned trends, and we mentioned organic reach earlier. I truly believe that if you're going to be spending any amount of time developing the social media of your business, you should have a paid social media strategy in place.
Right.
Now, that doesn't have to be a ton of money. That doesn't have to be, you know, thousands of pounds a month. So we actually set up a strategy just this morning for a business where their paid strategy is £100 a month.
Right.
But we know that they're going to reach that they will have their brand and their logo and their message in front of, they've got a target audience of about 10,000 people in a small town not far from here. They know that for that £100, they will be in the feed of every single person that has a Facebook account in that area. Now, That doesn't necessarily mean, you know, we're at the moment, we're just in the awareness phase of that plan, but we know that for that £100 they'll be seen, and they'll be seen a lot, and that's going to have a huge impact on them. And they're doing other traditional media as well, flyers and so on. So their brand visibility is going to go, going to go through the roof, and that's a nice, simple strategy that's costing them £100, and they could have probably done it for 50. You know, it's kind of just, if you're going to post something, you know, I always say you need to market your marketing material, you need to promote it, because it's, you know, if you could have the best video, the best message, the best call to action in the world, if no one sees it because you've got 100 likes on your Facebook page and you post, or you've got 10 connections on LinkedIn, then it's not going to work. And you go, oh well, social media doesn't work, and it's like, we can't all have the profile of, you know, the big players. No, it's not realistic to say I'm going to go and build a social media presence. One, because it'll take you a ton of time. You know, if you're going to go and, you know, become an influencer, that could take a ton of time and effort, and you're going to have to become essentially an expert in this. And some people do it, some people don't. But a more effective strategy for someone that's probably already spending 50 hours a week plus on like the normal bits of their business would be to have a nice, simple content strategy of one or two bits of information that are going out every week, with a small paid strategy to make sure that someone sees it.
So, know your target audience really well.
Yep.
Produce content that they're going to find informative, educational, interesting, and then give them a call to action.
Yeah, tell them what you want them to do.
Yeah. Great piece of advice.
Most infuriating thing in the world is you go on a website or you go on someone's social media and you want to buy that product, or you want to take it to the next step and you're not sure how. It's like, I've been on a website, how do I buy this thing? I don't know. So make sure that you don't have that problem when people are engaging with you on social.
Great advice, Christian. I really appreciate your time today. In terms of your business and what you've got coming up, is there anything that you want to tell us about that's coming up this year or next?
So there's always something coming up. Mainly what I would want people to do, call to action, is I run free events. I want to get as many people online free events. I want as many people as possible on my events mailing list, so that when I have the latest thing happens, the latest trend, the latest thing that, you know, we haven't predicted happens, I'll probably be running a free training on it. If you're on the list, you'll get an exclusive invite. It won't cost you anything. So that's what I would like you to do.
Brilliant. Christian, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in today.
Cheers, Gary.
See you next time.